Breaking down another series win for the Twins in a dominating game on today's Locked On Twins postcast.
You are Locked On Twins postcast, part of Locked On Sports Minnesota, your team every day.
And welcome to another edition of our Locked On Twins postcast. I'm the host of Locked On Twins, Nash Walker, here with writer and reporter at Access Twins, Brandon Warren. Before we get started, this Mother's Day, give mom something she'll treasure forever with fine jewelry from BlueNile.com. Locked On Sports listeners get $50 off $500. This podcast exclusive is only good through Mother's Day. Use code LOCKED ON. That's code LOCKED ON. Brandon, Twins win. They win the series after a tough start. On Friday, it was the Josh Winder show in his debut, averaging 95 with the fastball, hit 97, 10 swings and misses, 7 strikeouts over 6 scoreless innings. How impressive was Winder in this one?
Yeah, there's really no way you can overstate how good he was. And you remember how much we've talked about the Twins being flush with starting pitchers, and that was when they had 6. Speaking of that, Sonny Gray started today. This is not one of those 6. This is number 7, and he looked like he belongs in that rotation to stay. So fortunately for Winder, unfortunately for Bailey Ober, he's on the IL. It might open up another opportunity for him. But the way things are lined up right now with Sonny Gray going for Fort Myers today, I did not catch numbers on how that went. So
you did well.
Okay, I can't speak to that, but you'd hope Winder can stick around in some role as the rosters are about to shorten. But I think he's safe on the roster. I'm just not sure where you find room for another start. He might just be another multi-inning guy a la Joan Duran, but in a different role.
Before Winder even took the mound in the first, it was 5-0, Brandon. Carlos Correa, Byron Buxton kicking things off. An early error on the first at-bat of the game, and the Twins just took advantage. The lineup was clicking on all cylinders, not only today, but yesterday as well. Is this the offensive breakout here we're seeing, Brandon? I think that's, 17 runs in 2 days?
Yeah, and 3 runs on the first 4 hitters of the game. And I do believe that somebody said the Twins had been getting into good counts, but not capitalizing and not executing.
Yes.
Lo and behold, I believe they're 9 for their last 10 in wins, 9-1, if I'm not mistaken. So it's coming full circle. I'm not some kind of genius that saw something coming that nobody else did, but top to bottom, left to right, left or right, they look solid. It's a different group every single day. I mean, Buxton and Correa were solid. Garlick got on, ended up leaving the game, but everybody other than Urshela and Arise in the starting lineup got on base or got a hit. So very solid, balanced offensive effort, and just exactly what you want to see. And like we suspected you'd see from an offense that has a lot of really interesting parts.
Twins roster reduced tonight to 26. Sounds like Miguel Sano might go to the injured list. What do you expect to happen? 2 guys need to be removed from the active roster. What do you foresee, Brandon?
Yeah, it kind of feels like maybe Sands is the other one, because I'd have to check, because I know they have to get down, I think, from 16 to 15 pitchers, or that's the max. And I don't recall for sure if they were already at 15 or 16, because they did some maneuvering here in the last week or so. But I still suspect that maybe, Sands get his feet wet, but give them some length, because you have to remember too, there was no way of knowing Winder would go as far into the game as he did. So I think Sands was up to possibly do what Duggar did for the Rays today if it would have come to it. I mean, Duggar goes 5 1/3, throws 87 pitches in a relief role. They probably had Sands say they expected him, they said to him, prepare for anywhere from probably 30 to 80 pitches. And fortunately, it was only 2 innings. So yeah, I think he might be the odd man out, but I'm not sure about that.
Twins sweep the White Sox, sweep the Tigers, take 2 out of 3 from Tampa at the Trop, and now they will go to Baltimore for a 4-game series against the Orioles. But how far does this go in kind of flipping that 4-8 start, Brandon, to win 9 out of their last 10 and 3 series in a row, and basically most of these games imposing their will?
Well, and I saw standings from, I think it was this morning, and it had the last 10 for each team. So at that time, the Twins were 8-2 in their last 10 before winning this game. But I think every other team in the division was 3-7 or worse. So It's a time where they're capitalizing and the other teams are floundering. These games matter as much as the ones in September. You just don't get as up in arms about them. And right now, if I'm not mistaken, the White Sox are having trouble getting to Michael Lorenzen in the game against the Angels. So the Twins are taking advantage of what's in front of them, and now they need to do the same in terms of what's in front of them schedule-wise. So I think, like they've capitalized on the rest of the division struggles. Now they need to take care of business going into Baltimore, and then as they welcome some of the teams that may not be expected to do as much. I don't want to denigrate anybody on the first day of May, but there certainly are haves and there are certainly have-nots like the Cincinnati Reds.
Some seasons are over and we just don't want to say it. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all of the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and the start of the Major League Baseball season. BetOnline.net is where the game starts. Brandon, let's preview this series. Here are your pitching matchups. Chris Paddock Monday against former Twin Tyler Wells. He's starting this year for Baltimore. Tuesday's Joe Ryan, Bruce Zimmerman. Bruce Zimmerman, a lefty. He's pitched very well, actually, so far. Dylan Bundy is going to go Wednesday against Kyle Bradish. He's a right-hander. And then the Twins have not announced a starter for Thursday. For Baltimore, it'll be Spencer Watkins. So 3 righties and a lefty. What do you expect out of the Twins offensively? We'll start with the lineup here.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, they're going to run into a guy in Zimmerman who's pitching pretty well right now. I don't know how Tyler Wells has done this season. I know he was pretty decent last year in a limited role, but it'd be kind of fun seeing him against the Twins and then Dylan Bundy against the Orioles. But offensively, you just look to keep rolling. And I think it's so hard to really do a forecast. You just hope that if, let's say, Buxton has a tough game tomorrow in the opener, someone like Trevor Larnach does what he did today and picks him up with multiple hits and drives in some runs. So honestly, I think they just keep rolling. There's no reason not to believe they keep rolling. And Baltimore has been better than I think a lot of people expected, but at the same time, just not that great of a team right now in terms of where they are in their rebuild.
3 out of 4, I think, is the expectation here. Yep. On the pitching side, Brandon, which of these 3 are you watching in Paddock, Ryan, and Bundy? Is it Bundy because of the returning home factor? Chris Paddock? Who should we key in on the pitching front?
Well, I should correct myself. They're 7-14. I thought they got off to a better start than that. I'm watching Paddock. I have a pretty good trust level in Ryan, and Bundy going back it's going to be cool for him. For me, that's not as cool. But Paddock, just trying to keep an eye on that third pitch and the command and just how comfortable he looks, because he's been a guy who has done most of the things you want a pitcher to do in terms of strikeouts, in terms of walks, and in terms of fastball velocity, but he's just never had it all come together. And when it comes together for a guy like that, the results can be quite special. So it's going to be a tune-up for him because it's not a great Orioles offense. But at the same time, too, you have to take them seriously because they're a big league pitching staff, big league hitters, and they can bury you fast. So I'm curious to see how he handles that, curious to see how he handles the extra day off, which, for whatever reason, it may help line up Sonny Gray to come back 4 or 5 days from now. So we'll see what happens, but I'm curious to see what Paddock does to get things rolling.
Brandon, who's your MVP of this Rays series after the weekend? Who do you think most contributed to the Twins winning this series?
I mean, I think off the top of my head, I'd probably go with Carlos Correa having a really nice series. But, there were Kyle Garlick had a big game yesterday and now hopefully not going on the injured list. But to me, it looked like he could have maybe tweaked that sports hernia again, which is a really weird injury. But Max Kepler's been on fire, looking really good. But I got to go with Correa. I think it's 3 straight multi-hit games, starting to make that slash line look a little more stomachable, even if it's not quite where it needs to be yet. How about you?
I will also go with Correa. I think he was kicking it off early and often for the Twins in this series. Let's finish with this. Alex Kiriloff on the mend, still playing for St. Paul. He's in the lineup today, but you have to think going to join the Twins here on this road trip at some point. Maybe not. Maybe they get him a bunch of swings in St. Paul. But with Miguel Sano going to the injured list, Trevor Larnach is hitting. Where does Kiriloff fit back in? Luis Arraez is playing a lot of first base. What does the role look like for AK?
Yeah, it's hard to say because Garlick has been mixing and matching, but that's also against lefties, which is it's a point of contention for if Larnach or Kiriloff can hit versus them yet versus if they will, which with hitters that caliber, you would expect they would. But I think it's possible he comes back in that hybrid role, plays a little bit of left field, a little bit of first base. with Arise mixing and matching at third. Celestino was in left today, looked pretty good, but I don't know that they're going to want him out there all that frequently either. Again, mix and match with lefties, but I think Kiriloff, it's possible, could stay down a little bit longer just to get his swing where they want it, because it wasn't like he was swinging it all that well when he went down with the injury. So get him to 100% and get him 10, 12 plate appearances and get him up. And maybe he's there right now. I can't say for sure, but I think he's closer rather than he is farther away.
Twins are 13-9. They're 13-8 when we record POSTCAST. So like and subscribe.
Yes.
We'll be back. Can't wait to recap this Baltimore series. Twins are on a roll right now, 9 out of their last 10. Brandon, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll be back soon. Thank you, sir.
Be good.